I spend navigating this way instead of realizing that there's a reason that the car manufacturers made the windshield so much bigger than the rear view mirror. And when it's, if anybody's getting the impression that Mitchell came here to sprinkle fairy dust on you and everybody's going to waltz out of here without a challenge and an issue and everything's going to be fine, you didn't pay me enough to do that. I mean, I'm going to, come on. Maybe a couple margaritas, maybe, but I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying we have to catch ourselves and say, that's not serving me well. Rather than focusing on what's past, I think I'm going to focus on what's next. And instead of dwelling on, why did that person do that, and how come that's not fair, and how come they didn't arrange this, and how come, what do you want to do about it? Because I think in that moment, for the first time in my life, I started to sow the seeds of the message that I came to share in the book that I've written. It's not what happens to you. Life has lots of stuff that happens. It's what you do about what happens to you. There are potholes. Life has potholes. You ever notice that? Life has bridges out. Life has tornadoes and hurricanes, and they're not fair. It's not good, but it is. Somebody said, the most successful person is the one who can enjoy the scenery on a detour. Anybody here been on any detours lately? Anybody have a detour and an experience on that detour that they would not trade for the world? Everybody. The more time I spend on what I have no control over, the less time I have to spend on what I have control over. It's that simple, it's that basic. I don't think anybody in this room is going, wow, that guy's really smart. He figured that one out. But it's how we choose to point ourselves, to direct ourselves, to refocus ourselves, realign ourselves. That's the power that we have. And when we say, I don't like it, I don't like what happened, I don't like where I am, I don't like this situation, but I'm not going to sit here waiting for somebody to come and rescue me. I'm going to choose what's next. And if what's next doesn't get me what I want, I'm going to ask myself a question. What's next? And I'm going to ask that question, which is what you do. This is your job, isn't this your... Now I'm not sure you're getting right on the edge here of trying to be as smart as us again. It's not going to happen. But isn't that what you do? Isn't that your whole thing? I understand research. And you do something and you get a result and it doesn't get you what you want, you do something else. And you get a result and it doesn't do you. Am I there, sort of? I see somebody nodding. Good. You're on my side. I like that man right there. He's good. The rest of you, I don't care what you think. I like that guy. What's next? It works in what you do. How about in our personal lives as well? It was about, I'm checking my watch because it's going to be margarita time very, very soon. In fact, I think it's going to be margarita time real soon. Well, I got out of that hospital after about 4 months and got home. I could do nothing for myself. My newly grafted hands so sensitive, even the breeze blowing on them bothered me. So I had to be dressed and fed and bathed. But as time went on and my hands became less sensitive, and I was once again able to dress myself and feed myself, drive a car by myself, fly an airplane again by myself. Along those streets of San Francisco, I learned one of the most valuable lessons, the most important tools, the most basic kinds of keys to unlock some of the doors that are holding us back in life. And this one is one, if you haven't heard this one before, you've been living in a cave. But if you haven't heard it in the last 15 or 20 minutes, you haven't heard it recently enough. What I learned was what you focus on in life is what you get back. What you concentrate on is who you become. Now again, I don't see anybody in here going, boy, that guy's a genius. Where does he come up with this stuff? Mark Twain said, "We can't remember everything we know we're not smart enough." We need to be reminded. We all need to be reminded, because when I focused on how terrible I looked and how helpless I was and how scary I was to kids, isn't that what came back to me? But you know, when I started to think about the gift that lived inside me, when I started to think about the fact that I could fly an airplane, that I had relationships that were worthy and good and healthy, my life changed. And other people's did too. 2 years after the accident, I took some of the insurance money I'd received and moved to Colorado, to Crested Butte, that beautiful little town you heard about that President Clinton mentioned. And I loved Crested Butte, and I started some businesses, and with a buddy of mine, two buddies, we co-founded Vermont Castings, the wood stove company. So life was pretty, some people say, fire, Mitchell, fire? Didn't you learn anything? Keep it inside the stove. That's a good thing to learn about fire. And so we started Vermont Castings, and 4.5 years after that fiery crash, with my commercial, my multi-engine, my instrument rating, a beautiful 6-seater Cessna aircraft, one cold, beautiful November morning, I agreed to take 4 others in a ride in my plane and went down to the airport, did the pre-flight inspection, took off, lifted into the air, and immediately something was wrong. The plane wasn't flying as it should. I pulled the power. The plane stalled. Now, for the non-pilots in the room, it doesn't mean that the engine stops running. It literally means that the wings stop flying, and the plane crashed back onto the runway. All I could think about was an explosion. I yelled at my passengers, "Get out!" Forced the doors open, "Get out!" And they wedged the door open. They crawled away, and I couldn't move my legs. I tried. Then I felt the pain in my back. They put me on a Flight for Life aircraft to Denver. They performed an operation, a laminectomy. They found no visible damage to my spinal cord, and 3 days later, the neurosurgeon said, "Mitchell, you're paralyzed. You're not going to walk again, Mitchell." Why me? What had I done? Why me? A few days later, somebody from the FAA came to talk to me, to interview me, and to show me the preliminary accident report. It turns out I hadn't done that pre-flight inspection as carefully as I'd been trained. There was still ice on the wings. But I didn't do it on purpose. Why me? A few weeks later, a young girl from my little town of Crested Butte called me on the phone one day. She said, "Mitchell, I know you're going through some really tough times. My family's been to see you, and friends have talked to you on the phone. Mitchell, do you remember a year ago when I was having some real difficulties in my life, you told me that it's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it. Do you still believe that, Mitchell?" Don't you hate it when people do that to you? That advice was for her. That was good advice for her. Leave me alone. I'm enjoying being miserable. The next morning, I asked the orderlies when they came in my room to lift me out of my bed, put me in this new wheelchair. I hated it. Awkward, uncomfortable, almost impossible to get to the place that was so easy just a few short weeks before, and now the thing I wanted was too high, or there were steps in my way. But every day I went back out in the gymnasium, and every day Beverly was waiting for me. She was my physical therapist. Pretty sure, never verified it, pretty sure that Beverly had once been a Marine Corps drill instructor. Pretty sure. Meanest, toughest woman that I've ever loved. Beverly wanted me to learn. She had impossible things for me to do, unending impossible things, which somehow always became possible. But she wanted me to learn how to transfer from the wheelchair to the couch in the gymnasium, and that is stupid. and I wasn't going to do it, and she couldn't make me. Finally one day, because you have to learn how to transfer onto beds, into car seats, bathtubs. I find women stand a lot closer to me now that I learned the bathtub one. That's a good one. But a couch is stupid. And here's why you'll be on my side when I tell you this. First of all, I already had a place to sit. A perfectly good, I didn't need another place. Secondly, the wheelchair couch transfer is toughest one you can do. Toughest one you can, because you can fall onto the couch. It's always lower than the wheelchair. It's getting back off the couch. Because when you push against the cushion, it gives way and you can't look. I wasn't going to do it, and she couldn't make me. Finally, one day, after 5 especially impossible things had become possible, she came over to me, put her arm around my shoulder. Mitchell, there's one more thing. I'm not going to do it, Beverly. It's stupid, and you can't. Mitchell, calm yourself. Relax, Mitchell. Mitchell, have you ever considered the fact there's 2 ways you're going to get close to your future mate? One is going to be next to her in bed. One is going to be sitting next to her on the couch. The couch is probably going to come first. 5 minutes. 5 minutes on the couch, off the couch, on the couch. That's a great way to close, and it's about that time. I think I hear the mariachis warming up. But that's not good enough. It's not good enough for me, and I don't think it's good enough for you. Because you see, if all of us leave this convention center the same way we came in this convention center, then why were you invited, Mitchell? To entertain, to inspire. You see, the question I have for you is, what transfer are you putting off? What transfer are you avoiding? Mitchell, wait a second, Mitchell, this is really fun. I've been up until now. This is less fun right at this moment. You see, I know it's not easy. If it was easy, you would have done it. I know it's going to require something which is going to be a big stretch. That's what the big transfers are. But if we're going to wait, have you ever heard somebody say 30 more years and then I'll be retired and I can pursue my dream? 30 years? Why would you wait 30 minutes? I didn't say anything was easy. My life's been a gift. I've had so many great things happen in my life, so many wonderful moments, so many great things, and I've had a couple of bumps along the way. And they were pretty big bumps at the time, but they're not big bumps now because I don't carry that around with me, that steamer trunk of baggage with me all the time. And if not, you who? And if not here, where? And if not now, when are you going to begin that transfer? I was getting ready to get out of Craig Hospital and go home to Crested Butte, and I watched this one young guy. He had broken his neck. He'd never climb a mountain again. That's what he was doing when he broke his neck. He'd never race his bike again. He'd never ski again. His life was over. Everything important had been taken away. And I went over to him one afternoon, and I said what President Clinton had remembered from the first time he heard me speak. Before I was paralyzed, there were 10,000 things I could do. Now, there are 9,000. Dwell on the 1,000. Concentrate on the 9,000. That's called a choice. And if at the end of your lifetime you can do even a few hundred of those things, you'll be one of the most remarkable people on the planet. You see, it's not what happens to you. Life is full of stuff that happens to you. And you, especially the kind of people who show up, have resources and resiliency and abilities you haven't even dreamt of. Normally I begin, and I brought my book along, and I'll see all you guys over at the reception, and there's a table there. Come by and say hi. That would be the highlight of my evening. If you want a copy of the book, I'll sign it for you and take it home. Maybe you have somebody at home that needs to hear this message. I usually begin the talk by asking people, has anybody here ever been in prison? Tonight I thought it was more, and because I have, because this wheelchair was once a prison for me, tonight I thought it was more appropriate for you seed planters, for you people who have orchards and orchards and orchards of apples you will never, ever see, that you've created by the seeds that you're planting, by doing the work that you're doing. But if you find yourself back in one of those prisons, and a lot of us work pretty hard in building some of those cells by ourselves, and you find yourself shaking the bars and yelling at the top of your lungs, let me out of here, how did I get in here? I hope maybe you'll stop. And I hope maybe you'll let go. And I hope maybe you'll step back. And I hope you'll calm yourself. And if you reach down deep into your pocket or your purse and pull out your keys, you're going to find a little surprise. You're going to find a new key that you picked up at a convention in San Diego because you chose to show up. And take a long look at that new key, and you'll see written on it, it's not what happens to you. It's what you do about it. This has been a great pleasure. Let's go look for the margaritas.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mitchell.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. President.
Wonderful. Everyone, our meeting is adjourned. Please join Mitchell and me and Mariachi Orgullo de San Diego and Project Wildlife back at the Marriott in the ballroom on the 3rd floor. Thank you very much.